fight's not over.
Stop the fight!
People.
Everybody, I come here for everybody. Kill everybody. I'm the champ. I'm the king. Kill everybody. Ah!
Okay, guys, welcome back to Broke Bets, and we're here for UFC 283 Brazil. We'll do a recap of the previous event at the end of this video, and we went 8-4 on those, or 8-3 on those picks, and yeah, let's just get into this. First fight, Daniel Marcos versus Saimon Oliveira. We're going with Daniel Marcos here. Looked very good in this Contender Series fight, although I will say his opponent didn't really seem ready for the matchup. Brandon Lewis, kind of a short dude, stocky legs, couldn't get Marcos to the ground. Saimon Oliveira, though, lots of experience, but in my opinion, a little bit too eager to go to the ground, even if it means he's going on his back. If you watch that Tony Gravely fight, he pulled about, 10 guillotines in that fight, and Gravely just got simple takedowns. And on the feet, he likes to kick, he likes to be active, he's a little wild, but he doesn't have a good connect percentage. He's not hitting a lot of these strikes, doesn't have like a crazy knockout power for anybody. And Marcos, on the other hand, on his Contender Series fight, and his other fights I've seen, just shows decent hands at range, step-in knees, low calf kicks. I just like the variability, and I like this fight to stay on the feet. And sadly, I think the first Brazilian of the night will go down. What do you think?
I like Marcos here as well. He's a slight underdog as well. In that Contender Series fight, he was destroying Lewis's lead leg with that calf kick, and right. I can see him doing this here as well. He had some sting in his punches as well. I don't think he'll find a finish, though, but I do think he will win the decision.
Yeah, he reminds me of Chito Vera in a lot of ways. Just like really skinnier and taller for the division, but then also like kind of has long legs and just some techniques that he uses to beat his opponents. And don't know where I stand with him, betting him right now. There's a lot of UFC debuts on this card, but I do like him to take this decision. Yeah,
I'll probably stay away from him on the betting side, but yeah.
Maybe an over bet. We'll see. I don't know. Oliveira's a submission guy, too. Could be a little scary with those guillotines.
Yeah, Oliveira's never been finished, though, so I think Marcos, I don't think he'll find that finish.
Right. Okay, Marcos by decision. Okay, for the next fight, we have Luan Lacerda versus Cody Stamann. Going with Cody Stamann just directly by decision. Other than his last fight versus Eddie Wineland, Eddie Wineland's chin has been gone for a while. He's mostly a decision machine. He's a wrestler. Lacerda on the other side, this guy was a training partner with Jose Aldo for a long time. I think he was just mostly his jiu-jitsu coach. Very good jiu-jitsu, but at the same time, you're going to have to be operating off your back on the fight like this. And then you're also trying to fish out of water on the feet. Watching his LFA fights, had an okay stand-up, but he just doesn't like being hit. As soon as he gets hit, he moves backwards, he kind of collapses. And I don't think he's just prepared for the striking exchanges that he might even get to Cody with. And then, again, if the fight goes to the ground, if you just operate off your back the whole time, you might just get stuck down there. And Stamann does have good wrestling, and people probably still underestimate this guy. I think the Tapology community might be going against him here. No, that's about even.
It's nearly even, but I think Stamann's like a -300 favorite, somewhere around there. So
right.
The pick percentage on Tapology does not correlate with that. I do like Stamann here to win a decision. I just, like you said, I think he'll just be able to out-wrestle him and avoid a submission. I don't think Luan will be able to find a guillotine like Said Nurmagomedov found against Stamann.
Yeah, and a lot of people, I think, are just basing their opinion of Stamann off that single fight where he just got, guillotine. But, that dude's also super rangy and hard to deal with. And, he's fought some competitive fighters, Merab, and Jimmy Rivera was at the top of the division for a while before that. So those are some decent matchups. I don't have a ton of faith in him in this fight, but I do like him to win this one.
Yeah, the minus 300 number seems a little crazy to me.
Right. Yeah, all right. Next, Stamann by decision. Okay, for the next fight, we have Josiane Nunes versus Zarah Fairn. Zarah Fairn looked horrible on her UFC fight. She's old, doesn't have a ground game. Her striking is very basic. I'm going with Josiane Nunes here. Although I'm not even super impressed by her. She's a pretty big favorite here. She should get a knockout. This girl's just got a heavy left hand. I'm going to say round 2 that she gets that knockout. Heavy left hand, likes to just pretty much throw it like Puna Soriano. Like, that's just her only move. And Fairn just never have a really hard time just like stepping into range and dealing with anything. She is a lot bigger, and I don't really know why Nunes is fighting at 145 because she's really not a big person. She's 5'2". And honestly, I don't really think much of this. Again, it's not a big deal of a fight. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Fairn has a 6-inch reach advantage, which, I mean, I don't think women's fights, they don't really use their reach very well.
We've seen that play out very few times where it's coming
right. Yeah, so many times. And yeah, like you said, I think this should be a favorable matchup for Nunes to find a knockout in her home country.
Okay, Nunes KO round 2. Okay, for the next fight, we have Warlley Alves versus Nicolas Dalby. I'm going for Warlley Alves. Nicolas Dalby, he's 38 years old. He doesn't actually look like he fights like he's 38 in my eyes, but not a very sharp performance versus Claudio Silva. I mean, that dude was very old, gassed in the fight, and Dalby had a hard time even trying to... He should have really finished him in that fight. I think the last round was a 10-8. But got pieced up by Tim Means at range. And Tim Means is a quality fighter, but he's also not quite like a contender or anything. Debatably beat Daniel Rodriguez. That was scored kind of either way. Lost to Jesse Ronson, which was overturned. I don't know if that was a steroid reason or something. But Dalby is just very hit or miss, and his fight IQ isn't the best. He loves to do that karate style. He darts into range, and he's just not the most efficient person. He can gas out a little bit easily. And I don't know. I see both of these guys as hit or miss. Warlley Alves is like extremely powerful, great kicks, and some great submissions, but also like has really bad performances as well. He beat Mounir Lazzez by those body kicks, which were nasty, and that's a pretty big win that I think people probably don't think about as much. Got knocked out by the knockout artist Jeremiah Wells, and was beating Randy Brown for the most part on the ground until that triangle submission. But I like Warlley Alves to find a knockout here. This dude just swings for the fences, and those kicks to the body, to the lead leg, especially with a wide stance fighter like Dalby. I like a knockout in the second round here. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Warlley Alves definitely goes for the finish. Dalby's never been knocked out before, though, so that does kind of worry me if you're looking at that knockout.
It could be a club and sub too. Is another thing I'm thinking about.
Yeah, it could be. I think the public would lean this fight to go to decision either way. So maybe if the under 2.5 you like, maybe that might be a play. But I like Warlley Alves here.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I don't like about Warlley is he doesn't really put anything in front of his strikes. He kind of just throws the big strikes. And I think, James Krause, that was someone who kind of caught him. And
whoa, don't say that here.
Oh, yeah, we can't probably mention that with betting. Nicolas Dalby, though, I don't know, nothing's looked impressive to me. I've wanted to bet Alves' money line, but at the same time, it's like, I don't see either of these guys as too trustworthy, and if Alves just gets picked apart at range by Dalby, you're going to feel like an idiot. But yeah, I'll stick with a KO or a club and sub submission, just a finish. I like him for a finish in this fight.
70% of the Tapology community is picking Dalby, which seems kind of crazy to me.
Right, he's not a very, like, insanely skillful fighter. He kind of just gets by in fights. That's what I think about him, and I don't know. It's probably because they've just seen him more recently. Maybe some people don't really know Warlley Alves as well. You know, he guillotined Colby Covington and some of these other guys before, so, I mean, he's a pretty quality fighter. Obviously, that was a long time ago, but yeah. Warlley Alves, KO round 2. Okay, for the next fight, we have the first of the Bonfim brothers and Terrance McKinney. So Terrance McKinney versus Ismael Bonfim. I'm picking Terrance McKinney in this fight, but man, what a sketchy fight to try to make a pick on. Terrance McKinney's first round or bust type of guy, and he's just going to come across and do his thing and pretty much just try to swing until he maybe takes the back and gets a submission. And I see this fight with a submission win for McKinney, even though Bonfim has showed good jiu-jitsu and his brother has as well. I just think Terrance has an unbelievable ability to take the back. If you've really watched this guy's fights, he's kind of off balance at times and has that power in his stand-up, but he really has these long legs and limbs to grab onto people's backs, and the wrestling to also get people to the ground. And that's where he wins most of his fights. And Bonfim on the other side, phenomenal boxing. I think even better striking defense. I don't think Terrance will knock him out with a punch as much because this dude's got incredible striking defense. But the biggest red flag in this fight, if you look at both of these guys' records, Bonfim probably has 3-4 hours of actual fight time. Terrance McKinney has 20 minutes of fight time. That's scary. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, he's probably going to be getting a first round finish or getting finished it early on, either first or second round, if I had to guess. He really goes for that finish early on. He's super entertaining. Even in that Dober loss, he probably came the closest to finishing Dober. So
yeah, anyone has.
Yeah, I mean, that fire hydrant head, no one really can knock that guy out, but he was probably the closest one to knocking him out, but he just gassed in that fight, and Dober eventually found that finish. So I think McKinney is just too dangerous early on, and we'll be able to find a finish.
Well, yeah, that's kind of his weakness, is the gassing out, and he did the same thing with Sean Woodson on the Contender Series and got slept real bad. I just think in this one, you mix the wrestling and then the jiu-jitsu ability of McKinney, and it can be troublesome, but it's really a tough call. Bonfim has looked great. He looked incredible his Contender Series fight. He doesn't do enough straight punches for me. That's the one thing. He's a boxer, but his brother's actually the one that likes to use more straight punches, and he kind of windmills. And Bonfim loves to use step-in knees, but Terrance really never is crouched down enough, unless he's shooting for that takedown to get hit by one. But then Terrance likes to use step-in knees, and Bonfim sits really low to the ground, so I could also see Terrance landing one of those knees. But, for a prospect to come in and face this dude is a tall task, and for Brazil, they're really not giving these Brazilians many easy fights, versus France, UFC London. They kind of just give people the easy way out, but that's just not the case here. But yeah, T-Rex, if I had to say anything for this fight, I'd just say it's not going the distance. Even though Bonfim's gone quite a bit, Terrance will just get too tired by the end of the fight, and someone will get finished. So Terrance McKinney, rear naked choke, submission round 1. Okay, for the next fight, we have Jailton Almeida versus Shamil Abdurakhimov. It's pretty easy to break this one down. Jailton is a killer. Second fight at heavyweight he's having here, or is it his third? I think that's the Anton fight was at a catchweight, but I think Jailton's gonna be pretty freaking big for this matchup, especially with a bigger opponent, and he should just get to this fight to the ground and find a submission. This dude's extremely strong, and Shamil, big losing streak, old as fuck, and he's had some knockout wins before, but it's been a long time. And Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, this is just adding another name to Almeida's winning record. I think Shamil's been ducking him a bit here. He's pulled out of two fights with two previous scheduled fights against Almeida, so hopefully this one stays intact, and Almeida will probably do a little front kick and then go for the takedown.
Right, two
and,
fast teeps and boop,
yeah.
double leg.
And then his last two fights, Almeida, that is, he gets the takedown right away, and then he's finished both those fights with like 30 seconds left in the first round. So I'd probably imagine the same thing will happen here. Get the takedown early, work the position, and get a submission.
Yeah, I also think...
End of round one.
I think Almeida, there's a chance that this dude is on the secret juice as well. Just unbelievably strong, and then also doesn't seem to slow down at all with the people that he's fought. Just something to think about. I still really like him as a fighter. He's extremely entertaining, but to have that strength and then also have that strength at heavyweight, it's a scary thing for these people, and the speed that this dude's got. So, Jailton, submission round one. The under is destroyed for this fight. I would not advise even trying to do that. It's like minus 300. Even a little steep to parlay in my eyes, but maybe just Jailton by submission might be the best bet. We'll see. Jailton submission round one. Okay, the second of the Bonfim brothers, we have Gabriel Bonfim versus Mounir Lazzez. This is going to be a banger of a fight. I'm taking Mounir Lazzez. I feel really bad to go against the Bonfim brothers because they're phenomenal prospects, but I don't think people understand actually how talented and good Lazzez has looked. Other than those body kicks versus Alves, this dude looked like a straight killer. I mean, on the UFC debut, Abdul Razak Al Hassan took all the shots. This dude's got a phenomenal chin, and came straight back and pretty much easily won that fight versus Al Hassan. And then also, man, I'm telling anyone, go back and watch that Angelosa fight. That's like one of the fight of the years in my eyes, like barely outside the top 10 list probably. Stung Losa the whole fight, ate every punch from Losa. Not only this dude is just massive for the division. On Bonfim's side, phenomenal boxing, like I said before with the Bonfim brothers. Straightens out his punches a lot, goes to the body, likes to mix it up. But I've also seen him get hurt in his LFA fight. He got dropped. I think this guy is also not used to being hit and is used to being the hammer, and just not the nail. And Lazzez, he got kickboxing. He likes to use his elbows. I mean, he's going to have more tools, I think, in the stand-up here. And Bonfim isn't like a natural takedown guy either. He's getting a lot of these wins by knockdowns to submissions. And I think Lazzez, in this case, you got a good chin, you got decent takedown defense. It's going to be a hard fight for either guy, but I'm going to take Lazzez by decision. What do you think?
Yeah, I like that as well. Bonfim's obviously never been finished before, as he's undefeated, but you see most of his wins are early, first round. He's finishing most of his guys, so it'll be interesting to see how his cardio holds up as the fight goes on. Lazzez has proven to have pretty good cardio, going the distance in both of his UFC wins. So
right.
I think as this fight goes on, I think Lazzez could pull away here.
We got a 10-year age gap as well in experience, and like I said, like Bonfim hasn't been tested a whole lot. I mean, it's because he's a great fighter, but also he's a little bit more hittable than his brother. I know he's got phenomenal boxing, but you factor in the kicks, the chin of Lazzez. Although Lazzez has been hit a decent amount of times, if you watch the Losa fight, Losa catches him with some really nice left hands, but I don't know, he just doesn't budge. This can be a back and forth. I really like either side of this to go over 2.5. It feels scary betting it because you have a guy that has every single win by a finish, and then you have Lazzez most of his wins I think are just finishes, and It's going to be a great matchup, though. Feel bad for picking against these Brazilians, but this is not a gift of a matchup. And
yeah, exactly. This should be a really good fight.
Right. Super excited for both of the futures. It's tough because Lazzez got in the UFC a little bit later, but Bonfim's got a bright future. Lazzez by decision. Okay, for our next fight, we have Thiago Moises versus Mesqual Costa. I believe I said that right. Moises, picking him in this fight. Obviously just going to have the better wrestling and jiu-jitsu in this fight. Costa looked pretty decent in his, I believe his LFA fights. Has just that power in his hands. But other than that, Moises is one of the better wrestlers in this division, can get people to the ground, can take the back, and can just compete in the stand-up. And if you're looking at this fight and, Costa's the prospect, well, Moises is only 27, it says here, years old. And it's pretty bizarre to think that this guy's 27 because he's been around the UFC for a minute.
Yeah, his UFC debut was in 2018 against Beneil Dariush, so he's had that top-level experience, which you always like, and he's super young, too, for having that much experience, high-level experience in the UFC.
Right. But yeah, I don't see too many problems for this fight for Moises, and I'm just going to take him by submission. I think that he's been fighting some people. He hasn't had as many submissions in the UFC because he's fighting more wrestlers that don't give up as many of those positions, but I think he'll actually have a chance at it here. So I'm going to say Thiago Moises submission round 1. Okay, for this next fight, we have Gregory Rodriguez versus Bruno Ferreira. Taking the RoboCop, Gregory Rodriguez. Again, he's fighting somebody with another name. A lot of people, they don't have the nicknames. I feel like they give Gregory Rodriguez people with good nicknames. The Cuban Missile Crisis and Chidi Bang Bang and Chocolani. I don't know, there's something going on there. But Rodriguez, I'm going to say him by a knockout here. It feels pretty self-explanatory. I'd say Bruno Ferreira looks a lot like who we just saw on Saturday, Claudio Ribeiro. Has big, strong strikes, but doesn't really set them up that well. And Rodriguez, on the other hand, this dude's just getting better with every fight. He's super fast with his hands. His gas tank seems to be getting better with his powerful strikes every fight.
Yeah, exactly. Especially in that last fight, he was getting ahead a little bit against Chidi, and he came back and dominated in that second round and got that finish.
And he was matched up before Brad Tavares on this, which made me real nervous because Tavares has a good gas tank and a good chin, so was a scary person to look at. But if you're moving from minus 200 to minus 300 on a short notice guy, I think RoboCop's got this one in the bag. And like I said, he's got the jiu-jitsu. He's shown to have a pretty decent chin in the UFC at least. And the loss that he's had versus Arman was just him pretty much, like we were just saying, going for strikes nonstop and then gassing out. And Petrosian took over. But
yeah, he's 5 inches taller than the Ferreira guy here in this fight, and Ferreira coming in on short notice. I do think Rodriguez finds that knockout.
And I can't wait. This is going to be an electric first round in that arena, I'm sure.
Yeah, this should be fireworks in that first round.
Right. Gregory Rodriguez, not KO, round 1. Okay, next we have the retirement fight for Shogun Rua versus Ihor Pretoria. Shogun really shouldn't be fighting at this point in his career. He looked god-awful versus OSP. It was also an impossible fight to score. He does have kind of a ground advantage over Pretoria here, who kind of not that great in that category. He's got a padded record, Pretoria. But when you're facing someone this old that hasn't looked anywhere near what they were, I got to pick Pretoria by KO. I'm gonna say round 1 because he slows down real fast, and you can see that in the Nega Mariano fight. But yeah.
Yeah, it pains me to pick Vittoria here, but you can't pick Rua here. Like 41 years old. His retirement fight, I mean, I think he's just too old to be fighting anymore.
I feel like this is like a lose-lose fight, too. It's like, your dude's probably the hometown hero in Brazil will probably lose, and then the crowd will be pissed that he lost, and they'll probably, like, fucking throw drinks and shit at Vittoria, who's just like, I don't even fucking know. But I got nothing invested in this fight, nothing crazy going on here. I don't imagine too many people are picking Shogun unless he maybe finds a takedown, but he knows this is his last fight, probably won't take it extremely serious either.
Yeah, clinching and takedown would be his best path to victory.
Right. Okay, Vittoria KO round 1. Okay, for the next fight we have Paul Craig versus Johnny Walker. Picking Johnny Walker in this matchup, Paul Craig looked awful versus Volkan Ozdemir, but Volkan Ozdemir had decent takedown defense, and Paul Craig just tried to lure him into his guard the whole fight. If you look at Paul Craig's previous fight, he was getting his ass beat by Krylov before a crazy submission, but that's just his style. It just seems to be all what Paul Craig does. And Johnny Walker, another super hit-or-miss fighter. Huge 205er. Obviously wild in his style, but he is very strong. And if you do watch his fights, he's got okay takedown defense. You know, he stopped takedowns versus Ryan Spann. In the first round of him versus Nikita Krylov, he stopped takedowns there. But overall, a bit of a risky fight if you're actually going to pick a fighter, because Paul Craig can pull anything, right? He can do anything. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're betting on this, I think Paul Craig submission would probably, depending on what that line is, I think that might be a decent play. I think if Johnny Walker's just so stupid enough to jump into the guard of Paul Craig, I think Craig can throw up a submission and catch him. But Paul Craig's takedowns are not very good. I mean, against Jamahal Hill, he just like grabbed a hold of him and just fell down and brought him down with him. If he does that against Walker, I think Walker might be stupid enough to not stand up.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know.
Even for Jamahal, I don't think he could stand up. I think that he had Jamal's arm trapped in some weird positions, and then was just setting shit up. But I don't know. I think that Johnny does get a KO in the first round because that's just his style. It's like he's just a first round finish type of fighter, unless he fought, that Thiago Santos fight, which was like extremely stupid. But like this dude is just kind of built for the first round. I'm kind of curious how chaotic he might be. But Johnny's also very strong.
Especially with the home crowd, too.
Right. He probably wants that first round finish.
Yeah.
But, if anything, under 1.5 even seems a little bit scary to me, because I think that Johnny could actually survive on the ground for, the first 5 minutes, and it can make it dicey going towards that marker. And Paul Craig can, jab people on the feet, but he's overall not great on the feet. But under 2.5, I do like his parlay piece even better. Just give yourself some more insurance time and parlay it with something else. But, like you said, you can't really doubt Paul Craig too much. That submission prop, the only sketchy thing is a lot of people will just bet it and it'll drive down the odds of it.
I agree.
But Johnny Walker, KO, round 1. Okay, for the next fight, we have Jessica Andrade versus Lauren Murphy. We're picking Jessica Andrade by a knockout here. She's a pretty heavy favorite, and it could be a little bit of a sketchy fight because she's pretty small and Lauren Murphy's pretty big. Lauren Murphy does have a 6-inch reach advantage here, and that could really play in to the striking at range, because Jessica's more of a girl who likes to swing overhands, and this isn't her natural weight class. But she's also done well in this weight class. She took care of Caitlin Chookagian with body shots pretty easily. And in her fight versus Valentina, you know, she got crucifixed, but Lauren Murphy also couldn't even stand on the feet with Valentina at all. But you had a 31-year-old versus a 39-year-old and a former UFC champion in Jessica Andrade, and it feels like the obvious pick. What do you think?
Yeah, exactly. Stylistically, I think like Murphy is probably like the same height, same reach as Chukagian, and I'd say Chukagian plays the range game a lot better. And Andrade was able to get into close range and get in the clinch pretty easily against her. So, I mean, I don't see it being a problem for her in this fight. Like her to get that clinch game, get in the body work, knees, and finding a finish.
Right. Miesha Tate too was like a layup of a fight for her. She came in as an underdog, but I think people don't realize how bad Tate was at the time, and it looked like a really great win. But I think overall, Miesha Tate isn't good, and people just kind of like the MMA gurus have mentioned this before. Is like there's like an attractive girl effect or an attractive fighter effect where Lauren Murphy's probably even a bigger underdog in this because people don't respect her because she's not very attractive, and I think that's where it comes into play as well. But I don't know, Lauren Murphy probably won't, you know, she won't dominate the wrestling here, and with power on the feet, Jessica should have that advantage. So Andrade, I'm saying KO second round. She loosens her up a little bit in the first round, then finishes her in the second.
I like it.
Okay, for the next fight, we have Gilbert Burns versus Neil Magny. Picking Gilbert Burns. Gilbert's going to have a power advantage when he leans down on his punches. And obviously just put one in a war with Khamzat and is a pretty consistent fighter in this welterweight division. He can wrestle, he has the jiu-jitsu, and can strike. And how I see this fight playing out is, it's a little scary when a 6'3" fighter is fighting a 5'10" fighter because Magny is just a huge guy for this division and with a crazy reach. But even though Gilbert's older than Magny, Magny's looked really old in his most recent fights. And Burns, if he can't knock him out on the feet, I think he also can just find takedowns because Magny's a good wrestler until he meets a better wrestler, and I think Burns is that better wrestler. And Gilbert should find a finish in this fight, and I like him to sit down on an overhand punch and put Magny down. That's how I see this one for a knockout. What do you think?
Yeah, I could see knockout, club and sub, but yeah, Burns here by a finish would probably be the best play. Is this I guess that's a 2-month turnaround for Magny. I was thinking it was a little quicker than that, but Burns, obviously his last fight was against Khamzat, and he's taking a little 7-8 month break here. I think that'll be good for him, and fighting in Brazil too. I think he's got this one.
Right, like I said, the only concern is that giant reach and the height difference. Like when Magny's knees are a little bit closer to Burns' chin, but Burns has showed he has a pretty good chin. You know, ate some big shots from Khamzat and from other fighters. And
Magny does like his best work like in the clinch,
right,
up against the fence, and I don't think he'll be able to do that against Burns. I think Burns will be able to outmuscle him and get better positions in those scenarios. He
likes to teep kick and do light jabs at range, but like you said, just clinch to take down is his thing, and he likes to hold that position. If anything, Burns will get him down from those positions. So Burns, I'm gonna say KO round 2. I think the fight warms up a little bit as well before the knockout. Okay, the flyweight title fight that we've seen now for the 4th time. We have Deiveson Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno. And I'm picking Brandon Moreno. I think that Brandon has looked better over the course of these fights than Figgy has. And I think, if you rewatch that 3rd fight with him and Deiveson, In the first round, Davidson did really well investing in those leg kicks, which I believe he was in Henry Cejudo's camp, right, for that fight? Which that's kind of like Henry Cejudo's camp's type of deal. They love to do leg kicks and work on wrestling. And he worked on those leg kicks a bunch, and I think Brandon wasn't prepared for that. Brandon got a little one-dimensional and tried to just only do big strikes on Figueiredo. Usually you come into these third fights, and this happens a ton in rematches, Volkanovski, Holloway. Like, what somebody uses in their first fight, for example, Volkanovski used leg kicks against Max Holloway. Second fight, didn't get like a single one in Holloway. It's people prepare for that shit. And, you know, rematches are easier fights for the loser to prepare for because they can just try different things that the other person might not be prepared for. And Brandon, if you watch the third fight, winning a lot of the rounds until he got dropped in 2 of the rounds, and it pretty much stole it from him at the end. And I think that Brandon, every time he pushes Figgy forward, he gets Figgy off balance, and he's able to land these nice combos on him. But when he throws one strike, he doesn't do well. And I think he finds a finish on Davidson. If you watch the third fight again, I'm going to keep saying it, Brandon never kicks him, like, the whole fight. And then you go to the Kai Kara France fight, and he's got this beautiful body kick. I think he's going to take these weapons into the fourth fight and find a finish. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, they're so evenly matched. The odds indicate that as well. I think it'll be a tough one to judge if it goes to the judges' scorecards. Even for Moreno's last fight against Kai Kara France, would you say he was winning that fight up until then?
Man, what was the rounds? It was like Brandon had like the first round, Kai won the second, and then the third round was the body kick. Was that how it went?
Yeah. But, I mean, on the judges' scorecard, on one of them, Kai Kara France won the first 2 rounds. On the other one, Moreno won both the first 2, and then split on the other one. So, I mean, these guys are so evenly matched, it's tough to score.
Right. Well, I think that I also think that Kai Kara France has the power and actually the ability to beat Figueiredo too. Like, I think some people kind of think of Figueiredo as like this person above the division, but he's
because he's missed weight so many times. It just
right.
He's big,
and like, I mean, if you really watch the fights with Brandon seems to get hit by like the same punch, and it's just the overhand right, and that's what put him down. Like, if he doesn't have the ability to get, like, if you watch the Puna Soriano fight, Kopylov learned in the first round to stay away from that left hand, and he never got hit with it again. And if you're Brandon Moreno going into your fourth fight with this guy, and you're getting knocked down by that punch still, it's still a talented, good punch, but, like, you got to expect that this dude's going to have some tricks up his sleeve to get away from it. Like a body kick. You know, he opens up for that overhand, and then his body's exposed for that kick. Like I said, I think the knockdowns also came into play in the third fight because Brandon's lead leg was kind of destroyed, and then he's getting big punches landed on him, and you have a weaker base, you're going to fall down more easily. So, like I said, the second fight they had, it was the second fight they had, Brandon, like, completely controlled it with his striking and being diverse and taking him down. I just like the weapons, but like you said, this goes to a scorecard. In Brazil, it could be very, very dicey. I already bet on Moreno. I put a unit behind him, but like you said, I just think the better fighter prevails after however many fights. And also, Davidson's getting older. It's been, a year?
He's like 35, 30, yeah. He's up there.
It's been a year since
I think if Moreno invests in the body, not only the kicks, but the punches too, I think that'll play a factor as the round goes on in fourth and fifth round.
Right. I also think that Brandon going out and fighting someone else was probably super beneficial for him as well. Like, to open up his skill set and, like, see other options, whereas, like, Fiddy's just been fighting Moreno. Moreno had to fight off to kind of, test maybe some of his other things, but yeah, I like Moreno to find a finish. I know he has never knocked him out, but every time you see him put 4 punches together, he hurts Figgy. So.
Do you think him going to a different camp because he's not with JK anymore?
I don't think James Krause is this all-special person.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But, I mean, I think Moreno's only fight was the last fight with Krause's camp. I could be wrong, but...
Well, I saw that Moreno, he's training with Rosas Jr., the 18-year-old, and some other Mexican fighters. I don't really know exactly where he's established right now, but I can't imagine that he's not going to be prepared for this fight. I mean, he's extremely experienced, and yeah, I think we should just move on to the main event. All right, Moreno, KO, round 3. Okay, finally at the main event. All right, guys, drop a like, subscribe, support the channel, and yeah, we'll get those bets out for you guys on Thursday. But for now, we have Glover Teixeira versus Jamahal Hill. And I'm going with Jamahal Hill, and I'm going with a knockout in the first round. And don't take this as Glover Teixeira slander, because we picked him versus Jiri in an incredibly close fight. But I'll kind of explain why I think Jamahal is a steal for what he's at right now for odds and a bunch of other things. Okay, Jiri was a minus 200 favorite versus Glover. Okay, and Jiri had the advantage on the feet versus Glover. Jamal's going to have the advantage on the feet versus Glover. Same shit. I think that Jamal's got better takedown defense than Jiri, and probably a better overall ground game as well. And I think that if you're getting a guy at even odds versus a 43-year-old who's going to have like worse reflexes, and he's going to have a hard time dealing with somebody with a lot of power at range, I got to pick Jamahal Hill. It's just all I'm thinking right now. What do you think?
Yep. I'll push back a bit. I do like Glover, but
I do too.
I mean, I can see him winning this one as well. I'd lean him 55% to win this matchup. So my pick is Glover, and I'll tell you why. I think if Jamahal Hill doesn't finish him early, like Jiri didn't, I think Glover can withstand some of those punches, and I think Jamahal Hill can be overextending a bit, and Glover can get in there and get the takedowns. I think in Hill's last fight against Santos got some of those takedowns. Santos is not as good as Glover. When Glover fought Santos had moments. I think only 2 moments, but those were painful moments for Glover. I think Glover took him down, Santos that is, really easily. I think Glover can do that as well here. I think I think the main problem will be if Hill can get back up and how fast he'll get back up. I think if Glover can get on top control for a couple minutes, I think he'll be able to find a finish.
Yeah, so when I watched the Santos fight, yeah, Santos got something like 6 out of 19 takedowns, but Jamahal got up in an instant after every single one of those, so like they count but they don't count. And I think that Jiri, if you don't, I'll talk about this fight for a while, but like Jiri was standing way too close to Glover way too much. If you watch Jamahal Hill's fights, he keeps like himself way out of range, and he keeps that right hook like ready to go whenever he comes in.
He's a wide base too.
Yeah, wide base.
For takedown defense.
And Glover's shots on Jiri weren't fast either. It was just like grab a single, Jiri turns around, tries to roll out of it, and he just falls to the ground, and Glover like falls on top of him. And then when I'm watching this fight, this fight of the year, I can't help to think when I rewatched it, the whole time I was thinking Glover can finish this guy whenever he wants on the ground, and that Jiri could finish Glover whenever he wants on the feet. And like Glover had him full mounted multiple times, and every single time in previous fights we've seen that happen, he's won fights and he's finished that person. And then it somehow just didn't happen in that Jiri fight. I don't know why. a lot of times it was up against the fence and he got reversed. And then, Glover made like the worst title fight decision in history, maybe, with him hurting Jiri and then pulling a guillotine. I don't think that happens again, but like...
Yeah, I don't think he'll make that mistake again.
But I also have a hard time seeing him hurt Jamahal Hill. If you, like, again, that Thiago Santos-Jamahal Hill fight, Hill, he took some big shots from Santos. I don't really see him getting hurt from Glover unless Glover really gets to sit into a punch. And then while tired, yeah, I mean, this fight, if it goes to like a fourth round, both guys will be exhausted. And I think it's really hard to say how it'll play out, but like I said, what I'm mostly thinking about, fighting at range, on the feet, stopping one or two takedowns, and Hill just putting a right hand on him, that lead hook, and I think Glover will go down.
I can agree with that. In the Glover to Santos fight, Santos rocked him early, and
he blitzed too much, I think.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. He was pushing for that finish right away, but if he stayed at range, I think Jamahal Hill can do this. If he stays at range while he's piecing him up, I think Glover can go down. But when they blitz in like that, Glover can grab a hold of them and recover for a second or two and take him down.
Do you think that Glover, like, that Jamahal will just stay out of Glover's guard if he knocks him down? Like, it might be one of those scenarios where he's got to put Glover out cold because Glover might do the Charlie Olives technique, just get rocked, lay on his back. And
he kind of does do that sometimes.
Right.
I think Jamahal Hill can be like overextending on his punches a bit too, which would be a easier takedown for Glover.
True.
If Hill does stay at range and throws a jab and right, I think he'll most likely win the fight. But something's telling me I'm leaning towards Glover.
I also think people overestimated Jiri's ability. Jiri's really good, no doubt. But I think if Jiri fought Jamahal Hill, Ankalaev, and some of these other people, I don't know if he wins those fights, to be honest. I think those are really tough fights because Jiri gets hit quite a bit. And on the other hand, Glover, obviously a lot of these comeback wins in his, way back to the title. Jan Blachowicz has some of the worst takedown defense in the light heavyweight division, and he made that fight look so easy, and I don't know how we all missed that, but we did. But like you said, personally, my feelings, I feel like Hill should be near that minus 200 mark, and I feel like that's the reason why I'm betting him and picking him. But I can't blame people for picking Glover, and I still support you in a way.
Yeah. Can't count out Glover, especially in Brazil too. Home crowd will be in his favor.
Right.
But I mean, if Glover does win, who do you think the next fight will be?
It's
Yuri?
over. He's got it. He should end with a belt and just leave.
I agree.
But why would the UFC, hear me out as well, why does the UFC want to make this belt where if Glover wins, he might just vacate it instantly? Like, he might just win it, leave as a champion, vacate. But,
yeah, I agree. That's what he'll do if Yuri's not ready within... I mean, I don't think that Yuri will be ready.
I don't think he'll be back for 2 years.
Yeah.
From the sounds of his injury, so...
Right.
Okay. Well, that's the main event. Now we will go to the recap of the previous event. Thank you. Okay, guys, like I said, we went 8-3 on our picks, and we went from negative 1.49 units, which, in all honesty, isn't too bad, considering I've seen a lot of harsh weeks for people in the betting community for this first event of the year. If you want betting money for the UFC 283, please head to BetUS and use promo code BrokeBets. Otherwise, head to our description of our video, and if you click on the link for BetUS and make a deposit with us, you can get a 125% match on your first deposit for some free betting money. So look into that. But for these first fights of the year, I overestimated Puna Soriano's ability, to be honest. He's only got that left hand. And
I think we underestimated Kopylov more.
That too. And Kopylov's punches looked like they stung him a lot. And like you said, I think at weigh-ins, I didn't anticipate Kopylov was that freaking big. And he just looked like way bigger than Soriano, and it made the fight a lot harder for him, especially with the jabbing. Another person we overestimated was Imavov, but also Sean Strickland we underestimated. Same deal. Sean, though, that's the most tired I've ever seen Sean in a fight before. His punches were like getting a little bit wild towards the end, and Imavov, I guess it's kind of good that we know where his like limits are in the division now. He's young, but like he had so many in the first round. He was piecing up Strickland, and then Strickland just took over for rounds, the end of the whole first round up until the fourth round, and yeah, Strickland just touched him up with the jab, and he clinched him up at times, and Imavov just had nothing for it. So for the parlays, Basharat, Mendoza actually looked pretty good in that fight, but Basharat came through like we thought he would, using the grappling. Nashmento, easy freaking pick, grab the back, submission, like we called. You had your under 2.5 for the Charles Johnson fight.
Yep, kind of went as planned. Flick wasn't that good on the feet, and Johnson took advantage of that, and Flick was been out for, 2-3 years?
Yeah, it was probably like 50 strikes unanswered for Flick, so... Yeah,
he's kill or be killed.
And then you had the under 1.5 in the Rebecca fight, but like, dude, that should have been a finish. It felt like in the first round. I don't know what Nick Fiore was wrong with that man's chin. Something crazy's going on there, because like...
Yeah, he might be training with Drew Dober or something.
I don't know. He got hit, I think, clean by about 30 strikes, but from the left hand, and was just fine.
Yeah, Rebecca was going for it. He was definitely trying to get that finish, but I think Fiore proved he's durable enough.
Yeah, and I think most people got burned on that one. The fight that I had an inkling for it going under, the Dan EJ under 2.5 fight. Again, I just thought that Damon would either get him to the ground, get a submission, or EJ would be way better than him on the feet. And then EJ hit him with some big punches, and then finally the one that he didn't see, that left hook, put him down. And felt pretty good about that one. Only plus money one, finally got it. And then to polish it off, I had the Umar and Barcelos fight going over 2.5 with Charles Johnson. And Barcelos has never been knocked out before. The fight never even got to grappling, but every time Umar touched him, it looked like Barcelos didn't know what to do. And then, obviously the shot he just didn't see, the left hook put him straight down. I just didn't expect that. But I think what needs to happen is that Aljamain Sterling needs to vacate the belt. We need to have some more title fights before Umar holds it for like the next 10 years, because that dude's I don't think he's gonna lose. So that was the card. Like I said, we're just finishing up NFL betting. We haven't missed a bet yet this week, and we'll have a video that comes out for that, I think tomorrow or Wednesday, and then
probably.
And then UFC betting will come out on Thursday. So stay tuned. And anything else from you?
Like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Get that algorithm going.
Right.
Yeah.
Peace.
Peace.
I know. It doesn't matter from the trenches. I'm built like this. Don't doubt me, I couldn't do it. The odds that I couldn't do it. Look at me now.